Okay, it's 11 o'clock.
Okay. Ready?
Mm-hmm. So hard to know where to look. Are we washed out?
Ooh, we should turn off some lights. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our live stream. I'm sorry that I look like a snowman right now. I have all the lights turned on. Still a lot. That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought turning all the lights on would be good.
I know. Well, if you use a webcam, it's not as we if you don't use a very good camera, it might be under or overexposed. So welcome everybody. How many people we got? We got 4 people watching us.
Woo-hoo! Nice. Can you see the questions from over there, Jesse?
I should be able to, but I'm gonna have to look over to the right. So when people see me looking over to the right, you're gonna know that I'm answering your questions.
So we just wanted to give you a little behind the scenes view here. This is kind of what you see on Tesla Time News. Our camera is actually behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And we've just started our writing process.
Yeah, we've just developed a whole new system to do the news.
Which is the most convoluted.
It's to make it easier, but I think we've made it a whole lot harder. So we've got a wireless keyboard. We have our... We've got a tablet here, which is suspended by a tablet holder that we had lying around.
Yeah, and I don't know, it takes over the entire control room of the studio. So what the boys have to do is on Fridays before they leave for the day, for the weekend, they have to set up the entire thing, lights, the table, the mics. And then when they go back on Monday morning,
they have to break it all down.
Yeah. And I don't know. It looks good. I love the brick wall. I think the brick wall is the determining factor here because that means that everything has to be shot in one direction. But I think that we're being a little short-sighted. Like we're doing everything for the brick wall.
Yeah,
and
it's a lot of work.
I kind of want to go. I'm thinking like, what if we green screened it? Then we just throw the brick wall in behind us. I mean, I know you're against green screens. But think of the advantages. That means we can shoot in front of anything.
I don't know. We would love to hear your comments about green screens, whether we should go in front of a green screen. I definitely am sick of this wall. I'm not sick of it. I love the look of the wall. It's just like...
So yeah. What I like about the setup that we have now is that we have this slightly out of focus. So we have a nice depth of field, as it's called in the industry. And that's cool. But the only way to get that is to actually get physical distance. So the camera is like 6 feet away from us. And then there's like 3 feet to the wall. So if we record this in a tinier room or space, which we originally thought we could do, then you don't get any of that depth of field. It looks like you're in a closet. And this is all for you. Like we all wanted to give you this lush depth of field, but it's hard to achieve, especially considering that we came from recording in Sparky, where we would just sit in the car. But we actually, you know what? I think that's why I like it so much, because in the car you would get this fuzzed out rear windshield.
That's true. But also in the car, it would be cold or it would be hot, and we couldn't turn on the climate control, and everything had to run on batteries.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. We'd like halfway through the shooting, the camera would run out of batteries.
Undo the camera, set it all back up exactly the way it was.
Yeah,
and then we'd have to.
Oh, remember when it would rain?
Be raining, to be loud, and we'd be like, "Is the audio going to be good enough?" And then
right.
And then, sometimes we wouldn't finish the news until it was dark out. And then
the lighting. Yeah, we used to have to stick lights on the front windshield.
Lights on the front windshield.
It's amazing in this many episodes that we haven't figured out all these problems.
It's because it's because we spend so much time on the news. We have to just look through every story, overturn every rock.
Yes, this week we've got like 35 possible stories or something. We got a lot of possible stories. What we do is we just keep throwing them into a spreadsheet all week long as we come across them, but also as you guys come across them.
Yeah.
You guys are a huge, awesome source of news for us, because think about it. We can't scour the entire internet.
Right. We're just 2 guys.
Yeah. We've got like 70 websites that we go to for stories, but you think about trying to read all that. So you guys are great. You guys send me stories all week long of things that are happening like in your own neck of the woods, like your countries. And you also give me context. Like I'll get a story, let's say from a friend in Australia, they'll tell me what's going on and they'll explain like how their government just changed from from Turnbull to, liberals or something. And you'll explain all that to me, which is really super helpful.
Right. Because we're not on top of everything at every moment, all the time, every day.
But the overwhelming part is then I'll throw that story in, and then we have to decide when we're writing the news, like, is this story a big enough story?
Right.
Is it interesting enough to most people? Can we tell it well enough? Do we have, is it like actually happening, or is it something that's going to happen? Like, let me give you an example. If a car company says like, we're going to do this in 2023, well, that's exciting, but we hear that all the time. So we have to weigh that with, well, that's just something they announced.
Right. And
it's like a story.
It's like, yeah, that's a big company and they're announcing a pretty big product. Oh, wow, that electric car sounds like it'll be really nice. But at the same time, maybe this smaller electric car company just actually started producing cars, so it's always sort of that balance of like, well, what really matters? What should we really be talking about?
And let me give you an example. So we're thinking about a story. We just heard about this truck called the Scooptram ST7. And it's a 6.8 metric ton zero emissions electric truck that drives in
mines. Sort of like what we talked about on Tesla Time News last week.
Now, it's interesting. It's a real thing. It's been out there since last year. But like we did talk about stuff like this last week. So is it a story? Hard to decide. Like, does it go in the lightning round because we have some pictures of it and it's a real thing? On the other hand, will it just bore you because you're like, I don't really care about mining trucks?
Right.
And so, yeah. Hard to put that in perspective as a good story or not. So that's stuff we wrestle with because we're sitting here going, well, it's cool, it's interesting. Is it interesting enough? Is it a story? Here's one that it'll make no sense to you, but if you go to The Atlantic, which is theatlantic.com, and you search for bike share oversupply in China, there's the story that just came out a couple days ago. It's about all these bike share companies started up in China roughly at the same time, like about last year. A great idea, right? All these people in China need to get around. Hey, let's start a bike sharing company. So lots of companies started up, made bikes. And then what happened was there was just no room for all the bikes, I guess. People would rent a bike, and then the infrastructure wasn't quite well laid out enough. There weren't enough laws in place or something. So you'd leave your bike like in front of your job. But if you're a big Chinese factory, I can imagine that tens of thousands of workers go to that factory every morning. So you just have bikes strewn everywhere.
Right.
You probably didn't even know which bike was yours when you came back out.
Right.
And you probably didn't know where to return it to. So the whole cities became littered with bicycles. And,
right.
And
I'm not look in this story, like if you look through The Atlantic, the pictures of it are just insane.
It looks like it's photoshopped. It doesn't look real. You'll see a picture of a guy riding a bike in front of a mountain of bicycles. Like
they're not like old, broken, dilapidated.
They're
bikes.
Brand new.
They're brand new, beautiful, shiny yellow bikes.
Or like there'll be a drone shot of what looks like a beautiful garden.
Right.
And then you zoom in and you realize that it's a garden that's 10 feet high or more of bicycles.
Right.
And the reason why it looks like a garden is because some of them are beautiful purple and blue and some are green and yellow. And they're just thrown there because they didn't know what to do with. I don't even understand how this happens.
Right. At some point, wouldn't you be like, oh, wow, that's a whole bunch of bikes there, Mike? Well, what do you think? You think we have enough? And what? Mike's gonna be like, no, we don't have enough.
Keep
making them. It's
well, because I don't think we can wrap our heads around the numbers that we're talking about.
It's millions of bikes, and I mean the one picture that we talked about was just that's just one picture. There's just picture after picture of just like you're like, oh, what are those bushes? And then you're like, oh my god, those are all bikes.
And some of them have been there for a long time because there's like plants growing up around them.
Right.
So like they've been sitting there for a year or two. There's one here that blows my mind. It's like a drone shot of power lines, and underneath it looks like poppy fields and flower fields.
Right.
But it's all fields of bikes. So to get the scale like that, we're looking at like a tower,
a transmission line tower,
which is huge, right? So we're looking at just mind-boggling number of bicycles left outside.
Insane. Yeah,
so much value thrown away.
I know. Yeah,
but again, like we have to figure out the story so that we can explain it to you.
Right? Like, is this a story? I mean, it's first of all that. I mean, it's such a weird, bizarre story because it's like it relates to sustainability because it's about bicycles, but it's not sustainable. And the fact that they just made
too many bicycles,
like tens of millions of bikes, and then we're like, oh, what are we gonna do with all these bikes? And you're like, dude, that's not like sustainable. That's not the way to do it. So it's like on the one hand, it's like, great, you're making all these bikes. Then on the other hand, it's like, what the heck did you?
Here's what I don't understand.
Yeah,
you can't make them all in one day. Like, they come off the factory slowly. So as things start to go wrong, why didn't someone go, hey, whoa, slow down there, Mike. Let's stop making bikes for a week.
It's like they had them all at a warehouse, and then they dumped them on the streets, and then they were like, whoa, oh wow, I didn't do a volume calculation of how much space there is on an average city, and this takes up 5% of the city. Like, it's just like,
I would love to interview someone who worked for one of these ride sharing companies just to ask some basic questions of like, how did this evolve? Did it just happen like on a Monday morning and everything just went to crap?
It's just crazy.
And it's probably a great lesson for all of us in all sorts of new trends and technologies, because we've seen this happen before with plenty of other new products, right, that come on the market.
Yeah.
So we have any questions coming in?
Yes, we have some questions. So if you guys have any questions, this is our Q&A. So
you can ask us anything.
We will try and answer to the best of our abilities. If you're watching right now, make sure that you hit the the live button to make sure that you're seeing this as up to real time as possible. I know that it can start you further back, like at the very beginning, but make sure that you're live, because
that's the exciting part.
This is the exciting part, is that I'm looking into a camera, I'm looking right at you. I'm not really. So let's see. We have a question from Zach Fitro. Any guess on when ultra white interior will be available for Model 3? Got my configuration email. Decision time.
I know a lot of you haven't. So I got so many emails this week from people saying, I got my config letter.
Yeah.
So a couple things to know. When I got my Model X, I was about 4,000 on the list, right? But I got my car wicked early. How did I do that? Because within 30 minutes of getting my email, I answered it, picked all my things because I had it all planned out, sent it in. I got my car. I'm number 169 off the factory floor. So I cut way ahead of everyone. Why? Because everyone sits there for weeks literally talking about, now what interior do I get? So if you want it fast, just pick what they got and do it. There's not a lot to choose from. There's color of the car.
Right.
There's the 2 different wheels. There might be a third wheel now. The 20-inch wheel just came out. I don't know if it's on the config yet.
Yeah.
Honestly, people, unless you're just going to be like a big show off, I don't think you need the 20-inch wheel.
Absolutely not.
Because let's talk about wheels for a second. The 20-inch wheel means that you hit some potholes or you curb your car, you just got a big expensive bill.
Oh yeah. No, it's
you're going to lose some range.
Yep.
It's going to cost you a lot more to get your snow tires and your other tires.
And the suspension is going to feel even more stiff,
right. So
it's the suspension is, and we're on the 19-inch rims, and it already feels pretty stiff. I honestly am going to go for the 18s. I think that those are going to be perfectly fine.
But let's go back to the color. So I do think white is probably coming very soon, because we have seen it leaked. But on the other hand, we know Elon, and we know that they want to just get the cars out fast with this few options. So unless white is something you just have to have,
right,
I wouldn't wait.
And it totally depends on your situation. I mean, I know so many people who are like, oh, I'm, driving my 300,000 mile,
feeder.
Yeah, Matrix or whatever. And I don't think it's going to last much longer. I really want to get my Model 3 as soon as possible. And it's like,
so I had a friend, middle of the country. He ordered the other day, and it said it would be 3 to 4 weeks. So if you order now, it does sound like 3 to 4 weeks is your waiting time, depending obviously on where you're located, because they ship them out in batches. So they wait for instance, enough cars in St. Louis before they ship to St. Louis. So we can't be super accurate, but yeah, that is a tough one. I mean, the white looks cool.
You keep going. Yeah.
But the gray, I mean, we have the gray in the Model 3, and it looks it fits well.
Fantastic. I mean, it totally depends on.
But I mean, maybe you're in a hot climate and having white is super important to you.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell you.
Right. All right. Next one is from Tip Trippin. He says, "Hey, I asked Ben from Teslanomics because he's a numbers guy. But what do you think the price of gas would have to be in order for gas vehicles to compete with electric prices?" Part 1 of 2. The second part is, assuming both vehicles work perfectly, no maintenance, unrealistic, but assume, how cheap would gas have to be to compete, you think?
Okay, so you're saying that you buy an ICE car and it never needs maintenance for like the first 8 years or something, or are you saying the first 4 years? I don't because let's be honest, an ICE car after about 4 years is gonna definitely need maintenance.
Well, okay, but we're being unrealistic here. I mean,
we're just being unrealistic. It's a perfect car. Okay.
Now,
and you're saying the average American who doesn't see, there's a lot of things built into your argument, which I'm sorry, I don't almost want to go down that path.
Well, okay, but the price of gas would have to be, it depends on where you live. It's very dependent on where you live as to what the price of electricity is. The price of gas would have to probably be around $1 a gallon.
Well,
or less, depend on average.
But are you saying to drive just for driving purposes?
Just for fuel purposes, yeah.
Right. Oh, so just for fuel
because I think that's a really good...
Is that the question? Is it comparing an EV to an ICE car in terms of everything, the whole cost of the car?
No. This is just for gas.
Oh, just for gas?
The price of gas.
Oh my God, yeah. We're talking, we save at least a third, probably, we save 3 times the amount of gas.
Right.
Probably 4 times the amount.
So, I mean, it would have to be, it would be, 1960s era gas prices. I mean, it's insanely
We're talking
cheap.
Sub 99 cents a gallon prices.
Now, we have an episode that's about to come out on this.
Oh yeah, it's coming up real soon. We're just tweaking it right now.
Don't we have the final version?
Well, I just tweaked it like on Friday, and I think
and he uploaded it.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if we could share the link in the video.
Wow. I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, we can.
Okay.
Because we're in
charge.
We don't have a boss.
They left us alone in the studio.
Here's what I'm gonna do.
Wow, Jesse's going rogue here.
I'm gonna go to the video manager.
Yeah, so
this is a completely unreleased episode. Right, we're just gonna share it with you because you guys are awesome.
We made a video called How
much does it cost to charge a Model 3? Here's the final version. We haven't even named it.
I haven't
even put a thumbnail on it. I just want to share this with you guys.
Wow.
Because you guys rock. Oh, I hit the edit button. I shouldn't have done that.
Don't edit it. See what you're doing, people? You're causing Jesse to hit buttons that he shouldn't be allowed to hit. Now he's playing the video.
Hang on. All right, so hang on. All right,
this is why we shouldn't play in the studio.
Okay, so I just posted a link in the comment section. Copy it. Don't watch it right now because you're talking to us. Copy it. Paste it into like a word processor or your email or something. This is your special pre-invite. I mean, you ask, hey, we have a video on it. Why don't you take a look?
Yeah.
Let's see. All right. So, let's move on to the next question.
Okay.
Or the next comment. This is from XWP Fan 2. Nothing wrong with the brick wall. Nothing wrong with the brick wall. Green screen is fine, but can be distracting if not cleaned up during editing phase. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if the green screen isn't lit green perfectly,
halos and stuff like that,
right? Or if there's ripples in the screen,
right?
I agree, and I feel like
you got to light it really well. But it would be the kind of thing where we would light it and forget it. Like it would always stay that way.
I'm not convinced.
I know. Yeah.
All right. David Finch says, "Hi, Zach and Jesse. I have a question. A while back, you did the thank you Elon video. I took part. Do you know if he saw it? If so, did he respond in any way?"
He did not respond in any way. I kind of,
I would imagine that
my wishful part of my brain thinks that someone shared it with him.
Right.
But then I feel like if he saw it, he would have somehow gotten word back to us. So I don't know. I think that we're much smaller than we think we are.
Yeah.
And I feel like,
and he's a busy guy.
He's so busy.
I know. It's fine. If he doesn't,
let's talk about how busy he is. So there's this story that came.
I mean, we have a lot of questions.
Oh, we'll get.
And this is the Q&A. We don't.
That's true.
That's
a good point.
Cover this in the news.
All right. But thank you for being part of that thank you video, by the way. I totally enjoyed it. I think lots of people did, and hopefully, I mean, it's floating around the web. So even if he hasn't seen it yet, hopefully he'll see it. What do we got?
All right. So Alan says, can we talk about the vegan content? Just wanted to get this out of the way so we can talk about cool stuff like EV. Could the vegan stuff be on a different forum?
Nope.
No.
Sorry. Let me tell you about my philosophy of this channel.
Right.
It's kind of like if we were NBC or HBO. We got lots of different shows. They're all on the same channel. I don't watch every show on HBO or every show on NBC. I just pick out the shows I like, and I don't blame them for running the other ones. So same thing here. It doesn't mean you have to like it or watch it. Shut off your notifications if you want to. Here's one big reason why. YouTube doesn't allow us to just start a channel like that and make it big and monetized and all this stuff. If we start a new channel, we have to wait till we get to thousands and thousands of subscribers before we can do anything cool with it, like put our own thumbnails. And
and splitting it honestly doesn't make sense. The whole point of this channel is about sustainability, and being vegan, let's face it, is a sustainable thing. Obviously, you do not have to go 100% vegan to make a difference. We're just, we're showing an extreme side of what can be done. So the cooking show and basically,
and I don't even think it's an extreme side. We're not saying you have to be 100% vegan. We're just saying that even if you could take 1 day a week or 2 days a week and eat less meat, you'll be making a huge, huge difference that most people don't even understand. They think that, oh, this is just to save animals. It's not just to save animals. It's to save your health. It's to save the planet. So that's kind of why we do it, because it's the educational component. You're not going to hear that too many other places. Like, think about this. You go to school, you maybe have a home ec class where they teach you some cooking.
You don't anymore.
Yeah, that's true. When I was a kid, we did have a little bit of cooking, but yeah, they don't teach you how to cook for yourself anymore. So that means that you're forced to go eat processed foods and go out into the world of Burger King and everything to eat. We're just trying to show that there's like other ways to do it. Yeah. And we're not being judgmental or anything like that. We're just trying to say, hey, if we are trying to save the planet, these are some of the steps you need to do.
Because, I mean, let's face it, switching to an EV at this point in time is not an affordable thing to do. It's not like you can go out and buy an electric car that will necessarily work for you for the price that most people can afford. I mean, yes, the Model 3 is an amazing car, and it's at an amazing price, especially for what it is. But, it's by no means affordable to a huge portion of the population, especially the population who actually cares.
Do you know what the Model 3 is today? The Model 3 is your old flip phone. Okay. Remember when the flip phone came out?
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was small. It was tinier than any phone you'd ever had before. It was so cool.
Yeah.
The Model 3, though, is just the beginning. When we look back 10 years from now, the Model 3 is not going to be so cool. It'll be like a flip phone.
Right.
There'll be cars with way more range, way cheaper, way lighter, all these things. And so if the car is this cool and this cheap right now, you can't even imagine what the future is going to look like.
But what I'm saying is, right now, if you want to actually make a dent in your carbon footprint, and switching to an EV or biking to work is just not an option for you.
Right.
Being like, oh, you know what? On Mondays, let's not eat meat. Instead, we'll make something that we see on the cooking show, or just we'll look for our own recipes or something like that. It's going to make such a difference, and that is why we do it. And
that's why we're trying to do it in a fun way, especially with Bobby and Brent, who are not experts. I think it takes a lot of when you watch like an expert who's kind of talking down to you, like, you should know this, it kind of makes it daunting, and like, I don't really want to learn that.
They have a British accent, and they're talking about blanching, and they're
all these hard
and
things.
they're doing it in like 3 seconds. They're just like, oh, blanch this, then you're going to want to saute this and flip that, and then
a special
boom, boom, boom.
With a special pan. If Brent and Bobby can cook it, you can cook it.
Yeah, that's the point.
Right.
So yeah, that's what we wanted to talk about there. Let's see. Let's go on to the next one. David says that he can answer the price of gas question in the UK.
Nice. Go, David.
He used to spend $350 a month on petrol. Now it's $70 a month, or 70 pounds a month in electricity.
Wow. And because you're driving an EV now, I assume.
That's awesome.
Wow. So wait, that's 1/4.
Yeah.
There you go. So the price of gas would have to be 1/4 of what it is today just to break even.
Mm-hmm. So David Finch asks, do you think Tesla have plans for a small city car? It's probably more of a European thing, so maybe not from an American company.
So here's the overall plan for Tesla. They need to make money, so they need to start with, like they did with the luxury cars. When you get down to city cars, there's not a lot of profit margin. So do I think they'll ever do it? Probably.
Yeah.
Do I think they'll do it anytime soon? Maybe not. Reason why, the big advantage Tesla has is the cost of their batteries. All the other manufacturers, here's something that no one really wants to talk about. The other manufacturers have not invested in their own battery plants or technology. So they're
They're
beholden
piggybacking
to to LG and so forth. LG needs to make a profit, so they're buying from a middleman, which means the main cost of the car is the battery, and they are forced to they can't afford to put a big battery in a car. That's why you're seeing Nissan slowly creep up to 40 kilowatts and stuff, because they can't afford to put a 100 kilowatt battery in the car.
Right.
Tesla has much cheaper batteries, and they're getting cheaper as the Gigafactory ramps up faster and faster. So Tesla will have less of an advantage with the smaller battery than, say, the Leaf or the Zoe. So do I think they'll do it eventually? Yes. But I bet you the other car manufacturers will get into the more urban market faster.
Right. And for the small city car electric, I mean, there are so many concepts and companies that are actually working on it. We're going to be headed over to Sweden in just 2 weeks to go interview Unity.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Exciting.
And
2 weeks from today, we'll be in Denmark.
Yeah, we could. We probably aren't going to be driving the Unity car at that point, but
I'll be busy trying to figure out how to steal it. It's small enough that I can fit it under my jacket, I think.
Probably in our suitcase luggage. I don't know about carry-on. They're always so.
Just put a big cardboard box around it with some stamps, and we will send it back.
But
they've got it in malls in Sweden.
Really?
Some people have sent me pictures where it's in malls, sitting there in Sweden.
They should drive it around.
They should. That's the problem that these companies have.
There's more than you can't do that. I would assume
drive it around the mall.
I think that's illegal in the mall. I think the mall wouldn't like it.
You could put a speed regulator on it. And just make it go 5 miles
an hour. I still think it would be a little too dangerous for the mall.
All right. I'm going to try and drive it around the mall.
Yeah.
Drive it out of the mall.
All right. So Zach says, any advice on getting solar? I'm in a co-op in my area, which is helping the price. Anything you know now that you wish you knew then?
So you're in a co-op. So I'm not quite clear. Like, let me know in your question there. Do you live in your own like freestanding house? Are you in an apartment building? What can you put solar on your roof, or do you need to buy it as a community solar, like a farm? Also, please tell me where in the country or what country you're from.
Yeah,
that helps us. So we do have connections with Tesla, so that some of you, whatever countries Tesla is operating in, we might be able to give you the name of someone who can help you to get you on a really cool list to save you a lot of money. So Facebook message me if you really are that serious. What things do I wish I knew now? Well, I got 9 kilowatts of solar on the roof of the house that we're in now. So where there's a solar powered live stream we're doing. And at the time, that was pretty much the most that we could get, because the power company, National Grid, doesn't want you to have too much solar. Right. So they maxed us out. Lately, they've changed that and made it 15 kilowatts. So we're actually taking down a couple trees, and we're going to squeeze some more solar onto the roof to get us close to our max. What do I wish I knew? I wish I'd done it sooner. I did it in 2013. I think I waited because I just didn't know that it was a thing, or I didn't know, no one that I knew had done it. So it felt foreign to me. And I guess I wish I had sought out some people who had done it sooner, just so that I could have gotten more comfortable with it and done it sooner. When I had reached out to some people to do it earlier, I was going under the misconception that trees were a problem. They're not as big a problem as you think, because A, you can cut down trees or trim them, and B, until you get an actual study done of your roof, you don't actually know which trees are the problem. When they do, so when Solar City Tesla comes out, they send a guy onto your roof. They take they have this machine that does like photos in 180 or 360, and they can see what sun you're going to get all throughout the year, spring, summer, fall. Mm-hmm. And they can estimate all sorts of things, and they can see which tree branches are going to be a problem and how much of a problem. So you can decide whether it's worth to do it. So quick answer is just call a solar company, have them come out and do a survey, because that will answer a lot of your questions.
So Zach actually specified, he says single family home in Virginia,
okay,
US. The co-op is basically a group buy. House
interesting.
Is a good candidate. So,
yeah. So, so if you haven't already been in contact with some solar companies, first of all, the more the merrier. Like whoever's operating in your area, I don't know if Solar City is in Virginia or not, because they're not in every state. But contact a bunch of solar companies, get some bids, get some answers, sit down with them, do your homework, and yeah, get on board, because it's a great time to do it.
Yeah. All right, let's take another look.
But yeah, if you want to message me on Facebook, I will get you our contact information to our contacts at Tesla to see if they're operating in your area. What else we got there?
So David asks, could you do a show that shows what happens when you get to the front of the queue for a Model 3? What's the configuration like? That's a good
idea. It's going to keep changing, unfortunately.
Right. And we have some footage from a long time ago, back in November, when we actually configured our Model 3, but it's going to be completely different now.
I mean, that is the problem. Like a week from now, they might issue some new thing that you can do, the color of the interior or something like that. So we don't want to put out the definitive video and then have it change. But yeah, basically your configurator will open up when it's time for you, and you'll be able to pick a few options. Unfortunately, it's going to be fairly limited. When I did the Model X, there was over 1,000 possible options because of the different, I could
combinations,
options, yeah. Right. So it was actually really overwhelming, like what kind of wood trim mixed with what kind of Alcantara top and stuff like that. So they've really narrowed it down, which it was smart. I mean, otherwise you're going to have a million different combinations on the factory floor. So it won't be that exciting. Let's be honest. Long range battery, not long range battery.
Right.
That's a $9,000 difference. That's one of your biggest decisions, in my opinion, because you're paying $9,000 to get an extra 90 miles of range.
Right.
That's the long and short of it. And to me, that's going to affect you for the rest of the life of the car. You're either going to kick yourself one way or the other, probably. You're either going to be like, I never needed more range. Why did I pay that much extra money? Probably not going to happen. Or you're going to kick yourself and go, oh God, I should have got the extra range.
Right. I feel like one day, maybe it's one day a year, one day a month or something, you're going to be like, wow, thank goodness I have this extra 90 miles.
But it's already a $35,000 starting price.
True.
So to add 9,000 on top,
it's a lot. That's a lot.
And
I don't know if I'll do that.
So I drive around in Sparky, which has a 250-mile top range if you max it out, right? So most days I've got like 180 in the tank.
Yep.
And I'm perfectly happy.
Right. And I drive a Leaf, and I usually can get 60 miles.
And you're not happy.
And I'm not usually that happy. It's
the magic number is 200, folks.
Yeah.
I mean, is 300, 400 better? Yes, it is, because obviously you have to charge less often. But 200 means you can
200 with supercharging
you're good to go.
That's it. I mean, it's a golden solution to me, because right. I mean, yeah, having been in a Leaf that has a despicable range,
right,
and having limited charging, and I mean, and my Leaf is doing great in terms of the battery capacity.
You're
I have not dropped any battery, I've maybe down 6% battery,
and we think that's because you're in a cold climate,
right? But yeah, I would say it's mostly your long range.
But going back to whether we could do a video on it, we could. Yeah, I mean, when we get like Jesse's invite or something, we could shoot it. I just don't know how useful it'll be to most people, because by that time it'll keep changing over time.
Right.
But
that's a good question.
But if you've got specific questions about like what you're thinking of choosing, please let us know. We'll try and help you answer them.
So Zach says that Solar City isn't operating in his area. There's just 2 local companies. So
wow, only 2 choices.
Yeah.
That's funny, because in Massachusetts, we have more choices than towns. We have 351 towns in Massachusetts, and we have over 400 solar companies. And that's because this state has such good solar incentives that a huge industry just boomed. So that's kind of tough for you, only having 2 choices.
Yeah. The Tesla will be affecting my industry. This is from Josh. He says the Tesla Semi will be affecting my industry. We have a product that reduces the idle of the Semi in traffic. It's the Tri-Pack Thermo King. So yeah, so I mean, if you're in an industry where you're working with semi trucks, and it's like you're working with semi trucks that have an engine in them, and now suddenly the Tesla is coming out with an electric version that has no engine, just electric motors. Yeah, it'll probably start to affect your industry. Now, should you be worried about losing your job tomorrow?
Well, okay. I mean, let's look at Flint, Michigan. Okay, I've been watching this new series on Netflix about that goes in and shows Flint, Michigan right after the water crisis started happening there. And Flint, Michigan used to be the highest median income in the United States, $86,000 per household median income. It's now the second lowest median income at 21,000. That happened, I'm not going to say overnight, but it happened very quickly. Everyone thought that this was just going to last forever. It's GM. They make the best cars in the world, blah, blah, blah. GM did not keep up. And this is before the EV revolution. GM did not struggle because of EVs.
Right.
GM struggled because they were clueless about making Hummers and they just went in the wrong direction. How fast is this going to happen? It's going to happen faster than it happened to Flint because the technology is happening really fast right now. We are on this exponential curve, and we're actually at the takeoff point. We're at a point where you can actually see the numbers starting to take off. So if you're in an industry that's making something like, thing that helps idling diesel trucks, I would be looking for an exit strategy because no, it's not going to happen next year, but soon after. I mean, when that Tesla Semi comes out, it's going to revolutionize the industry.
Right. I mean, I think that they're going to be limited by production.
Yep.
Just like they are with practically all of their cars.
Yep.
I know that there are other manufacturers that are making other electric trucks. None of them have specified a range that's anywhere close to Tesla's. So I don't think that that revolution of the industry is going to be quite so fast.
But I do want to say, if you are making a part that makes a diesel truck a little bit better, how much value is that going to have to the industry when what they're really wanting is a Tesla Semi truck? They're going to be throwing all their resources into that. One of the big reasons why the big automotive companies can't transition right now is they're bloated with old engineers. And basically what I mean is, if you've grown up designing parts for an ICE car, you can't transition to being an engineer for an EV because all you know is how to make a carburetor better or, whatever, transmission better.
I would argue that you could probably transition. It's just, it's more difficult.
Well, I'm just saying, to teach an old dog new tricks is tougher than you think. To take a guy my age who's grown up thinking a certain way about how to build something or design something, and then tell me, okay, now Zach, go start making parts for this electric car. Many of us of that age cannot do that transition. We don't have the skills. We don't know the software. We don't know anything about it. So you're this company full of these people who are good at this one thing. And now you're competing with Tesla, who's full of 20-somethings who only know how to do software. I mean, let's face it. Most of these cars and trucks are software. They're computers on wheels. An ICE car is not a computer on wheels. It is a big chunk of metal on wheels.
It's true. I mean,
we're talking tens of thousands of parts to make an ICE engine work properly. Not that many parts to make the electric part operate. You need the software. And it's a huge difference of thinking.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Exit strategy.
Yeah, exit strategy.
Sorry. But better start looking now than to wait.
All right, let's see. We have a message from the Family Guy. Is that our...
The Family Guy?
Yeah.
I don't know, because I'm so used to your Patreon names, which are pretty much your names.
Right.
And these are all your YouTube names, so I don't know.
What was that? I'm blanking.
The gears are working here.
I'm so bad with names. I want to say Jeff. No.
I don't know what you're thinking.
Remember we met him at the Cambridge Supercharger.
Are you talking about Jeff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I don't know if that's him.
It might be. Yeah. Right. Okay. Jeff. Hi. Good to see you. Good to see you again. Well, I think we caught up on questions. So, nice. I mean, hey, if you have any questions for us, all of you, any question at all, we're here to answer it. We have other things we can talk about, but we'll prioritize whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, so we're working on this week's Tesla Time News. We usually shoot it on Sundays, and it comes out obviously on Tuesdays. That's to give the boys enough chance to edit this whole thing, because usually we shoot, about an hour's worth of stuff. They cut it down to maybe 40 minutes after they cut out all our mistakes and ums and ahs and stuff. There's a story here that we're trying to decide whether it's a story for Tesla Time News. It would take a long time to tell it, kind of. It's this company in Taiwan called Kymco, and they make a scooter, the INX scooter, and it's an electric scooter. And the interesting thing about this scooter is that it has an internal battery, but it also has two 5-kilogram removable batteries that you can take out and bring with you into your house or work and charge.
Right.
And it's a really cool concept because if you want to go long distances, it can hold the 2 batteries in the thing, and it can hold 3 under the seat, so you can go 200 kilometers of range.
And they say that you could have a bunch of like charging stations where you could go swap those batteries, like pull the 2 batteries out, swap them, grab 2 new batteries. You probably pay some fee or something, and then you'd put those in your bike. Meanwhile, your bike still has its built-in battery, so
Right.
like you could even take those out and keep going.
Right. And I mean, this charging thing looks like kind of a vending machine, so it's not that
Right.
big. You could stick it in an office building or outside, inside, whatever. It's a cool concept because it can work with other manufacturers. So as long as they stick to this form factor of battery, you can use it to charge other batteries down the road, and you could also change what's in the battery. So as battery technology gets better, you just replace the guts of the battery with, say, some new, graphene or something. And so this idea of being in a city and having to plug into a charger doesn't always make sense, right? Because you have to hope that the charger is available. Whereas with this kiosk idea and just kind of carrying your battery with you, that could catch on. It's a neat concept. But the hard part is telling the story in a short amount of time and showing it. So like we could explain it like we just did and show some video over the top. And that might be what we try and do this week.
Right.
But we're always trying to, like, what we like to do is kind of talk about it first and see if we can find the aspects of the story that are
most important.
Right.
And it's like, what's the takeaway here? What, is it the kind of thing of like, oh, let's go out and buy this thing right now? Or is it like, this is a cool concept? Or is this like just a nice story to hear about? It's always like, how do we present it to you that actually matters?
And it's hard to, when the company tells you about stories like this, they obviously try and make it seem like it's, they say it's in 20 countries. 20 countries could mean that they've got like one kiosk in one spot in one mall.
Right.
So, we contact the companies, we try and see if we can actually go and visit and do reviews. The trouble we're running into now is that a lot of these companies, like this one's in Taiwan and Japan, like, are we going to fly there for this story? Probably not. So we're relying on you guys, our network of awesome people. And that's why we love our video contributors, because if you happen to live in, let's say, Taiwan, you might be able to go visit the company, shoot a little couple minutes, tell us if you've seen them in your town. So keep that in mind there, guys. If you're watching this, we love the video contributors.
Yeah. I mean, it saves, it saves money on airfare for sure. It saves the planet on airfare, of having to, go to France, England, Taiwan, Germany, the Netherlands, and, you're going to be the local expert if you're living nearby to something that's super interesting. And I mean, we would love to hear about pretty much anything.
Right. Because I mean, the world's exploding with all these new ideas. Some of them are going to catch on. Some of them are going to cause someone else to get an idea, which will lead to something that we couldn't even expect.
Right.
It's the sharing of these ideas. And we're at this little incubator stage where most of the world, have you noticed this, people? Have you talked to your friends at work and stuff? Most of them don't know what we're talking about. And I'd love to see some comments of that right now. It's like when you talk to your friends and family, let's say you're having a family get together or there's a corporate lunch and you might talk about Tesla. Do they just give you blank stares? Because I get a lot of blank stares. In fact, I want to tell this little story. In our town, we were having a town meeting the other day and we were discussing a new traffic light. And everyone, it was big controversy. It's split down the middle. Should we put this new traffic light in the center of town? Half the town says, no, it makes the town look very, futuristic to have a traffic light. And the other half is like, no, but it's safer. And some of the people are like, well, if you put a traffic light, you actually get more traffic because traffic lights increase traffic. They don't decrease it. And I started thinking, all these civil engineers started standing up from the town saying, this is how traffic lights work. And this is blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you're actually all wrong. You're basing it on data from the past few decades, but we're about to have a major shift. So it takes 5 years from when we talk about a traffic light to when we build it. So even if we funded it the other day, it would be 5 years before the traffic light actually gets built. That's how slow America is, okay? And that traffic light would cost over $1 million. So I just want to give you perspective. In America right now, you want to build 3 little traffic lights on a little corner in America. It's going to cost over $1 million.
That's insane.
And by the time it gets built, I'm arguing that in about 5 years, we're going to start to see a difference because we're going to have more ride sharing. We're going to have a decrease probably in traffic. Because right now, ride sharing is enabling 20 times more use of a car. Think about that. I'm not even saying you have to share the ride with two people. Just getting in a car like an Uber means that car is way more efficient now.
It's true. It's not parked in a parking lot.
Right.
For 99% of the time.
But if we do start sharing, like if Jesse and I ride shared to work, we've just cut in half the number of cars.
It's true.
And if 3 or 4 of us, that could be a huge percentage drop. So all these assumptions we're going under about intersections and traffic lights and lanes might all be changing, but no one's talking about it. And that's what I want to know about. Like, has anyone seen this kind of thing going on at work or with friends?
All right, so let's read some stuff here. So Zach says that all of my adult coworkers have no clue. I'm spreading the gospel. My wife is a teacher, and the majority of her high school kids know about EVs, especially Tesla.
Interesting.
So I mean, and the thing for me is that, like, little kids, if you teach little kids about electric cars, they grab it, they get it instantly. Yep. They're like, oh, that makes sense. And I mean, maybe it's because they, all have smartphones and they know what charging a smartphone means.
But it's because they don't have preconceived notions.
That's true.
I got to argue that I've talked to high school students and I talked to 5-year-olds. The high school students already think you're crazy when you start talking about self-driving cars. A lot of them already go, that sounds weird. But if you talk about self-driving cars to a 5-year-old, they're like, great, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
So think about that for a second. That means between 5 and 16, those 11 years, something happens to your brain. You've been taught so much false information or so many preconceived dumb things. Please, educators out there, start teaching history differently.
Right.
All the things I'm talking about, it's not new. It's not like I'm talking about some new thing that's never happened. These trends happen throughout human history. It's just we don't teach them.
It reminds me of The Wire. So in The Wire, it was like one of the last seasons when they're in the schools and they're trying to teach. They're trying to make some of the kids who are going to turn into gangsters better. And they realize that, like, they're already too far gone. Mm-hmm. Like, you need to start really, really young because it's already ingrained in them.
Right.
And it's like that with a lot of things. Yep. You get baked pretty quick.
Yep.
Your brain gets
think about
cooked.
Most of your teachers. My whole family's full of teachers, so I'm not disparaging teachers. My wife's a teacher. My mother was a teacher. My father was a teacher. But the thing is, you start teaching how you were taught to teach from textbooks largely, and we haven't flipped the classroom yet, even though everyone talks about, we're flipping the classroom. No, flipping the classroom means you take the best people like Elon Musk, you have them teach kids in a video.
I don't know if he's the best, like, orator.
Maybe he's not the best orator, but like you take someone who takes these concepts.
Sal Khan amazing,
and you have them teach the lecture, the lesson,
right?
And then you go back to the classroom the next day and you discuss it. You form working groups so kids learn to work together. You do problem solving based on what you just learned. We don't do that,
right?
Not, at least not in this country,
right? Yeah, I mean. And that's a whole other thing that we would love to get into, talking about education and things that you should be learning as a member of society. I mean, I could talk about that for about a week
or longer. Yeah.
Or longer. I mean, like, why don't we learn how to do our taxes in school? Why don't we learn how to, like, what if you get pulled over in school?
I'll tell you why we don't teach how to do taxes in school. Because if we taught kids about taxes in school, they would say, this is ridiculous. Yeah. Why do we have a tax system that takes you either having to hire a professional to do it, or it takes weeks of your time to do it? And why is it helping the oil industry, for instance? Why are we giving huge subsidies and breaks to parts of the industry that we shouldn't be? Like, it would. The reason you want to keep it so that you can't figure it out yourself and you have to go to a tax professional is they don't want to show you what's behind the curtain.
Okay.
They want you to just, oh, that's what I owe. That's what I have to pay.
Right.
Wow.
Deep stuff.
We went a little deep.
Yeah. All right. Let's pull it back out of here. So Trippin says, according to all of the stories, EV will be majority of cars in 2025 to 2030. Do you think EVs will be on par with gas vehicles before that date in terms of price?
Yes.
Well, really?
Yes. So it's all to do with batteries. That's the magic thing, is batteries. And we're already seeing the reduction in the price of batteries. If Elon hadn't been able to sell the Model 3 for $35,000, then I would say we're in trouble, that some of his calculations must have been off. But the fact that he's able to do it and sell the base model for 35 means that, and he's making a profit, means that he's been able to figure out how to get batteries cheaper. And if he figured it out, the market will follow. So as more and more people jump onto batteries, and we're seeing China is just jumped full force onto it, you start making battery factories, the price of batteries drops. It's not brain surgery here for people. The first computers came out. How expensive were they?
They were $5,000 in 1970.
Right.
I was just talking to one of my coworkers the other day who
and
bought
they
one.
had no power.
Right. And $5,000 in 1970, that's like you could buy a Model 3 for that. Like,
right.
It's insane.
And this had like, there's not, we're talking
right.
about
It was,
megabits of anything. We're talking about kilobits of things.
If anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So the first of anything, the cell phones, the computers. And when you said back then, oh, in 2000, they'll be the price of blah, blah, blah. People would be like, you're crazy. These are so expensive. How could they ever drop in price?
Right.
Same thing with cars. As soon as you get them made on a factory, they drop in price. So yes, they're going to drop very fast.
I'm excited for that. And I mean, also keep in mind that we're so used to having cars just be like, oh, there's a car from 20 years ago. There's a car from 10 years ago. You can buy all of those cars. Having a used market, I think, is going to be the biggest change for the EV market. I mean, when I realized that I could get a used Leaf for $8,000, I was like, oh boy, like that's way, because I mean the Leaf costs, $32,000 new.
Right. You got basically a new car.
I got basically a new car.
Right.
For
your battery's the same as it was new.
Mm-hmm.
And what have you spent in maintenance?
$0. I put winter tires on it. That's it.
But you've had old ICE cars.
And I spent $4,000 on one of those cars on the transmission alone. And we had already paid. I spent more money on that car in total than I have on this one. Leaf. And that doesn't even account for the gas that I spent on it. I mean, yeah, right. It's insane. But I mean, getting back to the used market, I mean, a Nissan Leaf from 2013 with a range of 60 miles, 60, 100, in that range. In the winter, it's 60. It's not like, oh, I will switch to that. That's a economic
right.
or practical thing for me to do.
Right.
I just really wanted to do it, and I absolutely did not want to have to buy another transmission ever again.
Right.
So that's why I did it. But I think once Model 3s are available used, and they're coming down in price because maybe the last owner didn't really take very good care of it. It would be great for you because taking care of it probably means that the seats are a bit worn and the exterior is a bit scratched, but like if it drives, heck yeah, I mean that's going to be a sweet car to own used.
My last little rant here is that all those people that talk about Tesla burning money, the reason Tesla is pouring money, they're not burning it, they're investing it. The reason they're investing so much of their money back into gigafactories and factories
mm-hmm.
is that is how they're going to get the price of batteries and other technologies cheaper.
Right. And they'll be below. I mean, because they were investing first and because they're continuing to invest huge sums of money, that is why they're going to be the lowest price of right. batteries in town. Like right. It'll just be like,
it's going to be Tesla in China.
Yeah. It'll be it.
They all get it. The German companies do not get it.
Right.
They're just like, oh, we don't want to invest in batteries. Those are so not sexy.
Mm-hmm. Zach asks, do you still like the Ego lawnmower?
I do. Unfortunately, we've had snow on the lawn for the past 6 months, but yes, I love that thing.
You know what? I will say that I love it even now because it is not out. It is folded up and out of the way.
It's so tiny.
We have more space in the garage right now because it's just folded up. I don't even know where it is. It's just tiny. And I remember having the gas mower. You'd have to crawl over that thing all the time.
You know what else I like about it? Me and a buddy of mine, we both got Ego products. So he got the chainsaw, I got the lawnmower and the weed whacker, and we can share the units when we need. Like, oh, I need to borrow your chainsaw. Sure, no problem. Oh, can I borrow your lawnmower? Right. Sure, I can throw that in the car. It won't stink up the car. It's small. Like we can save having to especially if you have a neighbor that lives next to you. Like mm-hmm. we don't even live next to each other. But if you live next to you, like just buy one Ego product and then share it.
Right. And you could share the batteries. I mean, it's
you don't have to go out get gas.
Right. Let's see.
It doesn't have to be Ego. There's other brands.
Right.
And just we got to wrap this up because we got to get to the news. So I'd say a couple more questions.
Okay, let's see. Marcel says, hi from Switzerland. What is your guess of Model 3 production per week?
So we're supposed to have 2,500 by the end of this month, 5,000 by the end of June. It sounds like we're going to hit that. Hard to know for certain,
right?
But there's been no indication that we're not going to hit that. There's just so many of these legacy stories that are floating around like, oh, they're having problems. Yeah, it's not a smooth, perfect
right
thing. You got to make sure that the weakest link in the chain slows down your entire production. So if there's a module that's not working perfectly, you got to fix that. So, but yeah, I haven't heard any indication that we're slowing down or that we've hit another huge bump. I think it's just we're increasing production.
Right.
I really love that that Bloomberg website that we put on the Tesla Time News a few weeks ago, where you can track the VIN numbers and track what's coming out. And so far, from what I've seen, it looks like we're on track.
Yeah, and I mean,
is it as fast as we all wanted? No.
Right. And can it be off by a couple of weeks? I think so.
But one thing I want you to remember, pretty much undoubtedly, Elon is now switching production over to Canada so that he can slow down the U.S. numbers.
Right.
And he's doing that on purpose so that in case we don't get the extension of the EV tax credit for U.S., we can maximize it by releasing starting in July. So I know this is all complicated stuff, but basically every car manufacturer, when they hit the 200,000 limit, which Tesla's going to hit very soon, then the tax credit gets cut in half and then cut in a quarter. Elon wants to make sure that everyone gets as big a tax credit as possible, the $7,500, which would really reduce the price of the car. I'm hopeful that Congress is going to extend the tax credit even bigger, which would make a huge, that would be the biggest story of the year, I think, if Congress does this. And
it could be passed by Republicans.
Yes, Republicans want to do it. And you know what? You guys out there who live in the U.S., contact your representatives. I know you don't think you're that powerful, but just a few calls from different people, this isn't like the biggest thing on their radar. They have other things. So if they hear from a few of their constituents who want this, that could be the thing that flips them from one to the other.
Mm-hmm.
If we get that passed, that means that more Bolts, more Teslas are going to get produced. Those are American car companies. That's what Congress wants to hear. Oh, American car companies? We want to help American car companies.
Right.
So contact them. Yes, if we get that credit, you know how many more people will get on the list?
Right. And how many more people are going to be able to afford a Model 3?
Right. That's the whole point of the tax credit, is to incentivize EVs.
Right. And it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Last question.
Let's see. So Trevor wants to know how we got the Model 3 so soon.
Wouldn't you like to know? Well, let's just see what we know. The only way you could get it as soon as we did would be if you were an employee who lived in California. I'm not an employee. Are you?
No.
Do you live in California?
No.
So how do we do it?
We can tell them.
We can't tell them.
We can tell them a little bit.
We can't really tell them. I don't want to get anyone in trouble.
All right.
But just read between the lines. I think you can figure it out.
I think you can probably, I suppose you can figure that out.
Yeah.
Someday
we can probably tell you.
We'll probably tell you.
Yeah.
Like in
full. We're protecting people.
Yeah.
But we did this for you. We bent over backwards.
Yeah.
We
pulled out all the stops.
We pulled out all the stops, and our connection was fantastic because it allowed us to get our hands on the car and show you all the aspects of the car. We have it right now out in the driveway. So we I had a student who wrote to me the other day and is doing a project on the car and needed a picture of the back of the car, which in fact I forgot to take. So we have to go take a picture of the back of the car and send that to him.
So thank you so much for joining us today. We've got a fair number of you. It's really nice.
And we'll keep this up for a little while. So if you, if you're not now watching us, you can be watching us in the
although
future.
You've just finished. So thank you so much for being Patreon supporters. It's
special.
It's really,
it's super special for us because we get so much when you read the comments on our YouTube, so many people are like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. And it can be disheartening. You guys not only support us like by saying, hey, you're doing a great job, but you also give us money, which shows that you really value what we're doing. Right. And it makes us work super hard for you.
Right. And you know you've been here long enough to think that we deserve money, which means that we know that you've actually, watched a fair amount of our content. You're not just, some random person on the internet who watched one video and is like, hey, I don't think you're right. And it's like, okay, random guy. But yeah, it's really great to have you guys.
And to have this community asking questions.
Super cool to be able to talk to people. It's like,
and we continually want to innovate. We want to figure out ways to make this so that it's even more interactive. So we're working on that.
Yeah.
So we're probably not going to talk to you again until we get back from Europe. We're going to go to Europe in a couple of weeks. If there's any of you out there who live in Denmark or Sweden and want to meet up with us, please message me on Facebook, and we'll try our best to bump into you in those countries. And we're going to have some fun there and hopefully bring back some cool, interesting stories.
Yeah. I just want to point out, you all just said thank you to us for doing this live.
That's really nice.
That's super nice. Thank you. Thank you for saying thank you. That's really nice. Have a great rest of your days. We're going to go record the news, and you'll see us tomorrow and the next day. So bye, everybody.
See ya.